Welcome to the Blue Gold Sports Podcast. I'm Ryan Roddy and I'm by myself today. Tanner couldn't make it, Corey couldn't make it, and so it's just gonna be me and we're gonna talk some Mountaineer ball. How does that sound? So we'll start off with football. Coming off a road win against Cincinnati, they improved their record to 4-2 in the Big 12 Conference, and they're still in the hunt for that title game. Playing that title game. A lot of stuff has to fall into place, but it's still achievable there for the Mountaineers. In that game, Nico Markel didn't play quite as well as he did against Arizona. Still had two touchdowns, one on the ground, and threw one as well, but threw an interception, and the offense stalled at times. I believe they only had 9 first downs in that game, so the defense is the one that stood up big. Two defensive touchdowns, pick six, Anthony Wilson, and then a fumble recovery, which was a great high IQ play there by Tyron Bradley. And so the big question revolving around West Virginia this week is who is going to be under center? Is it going to be Markiol, who's now 3-0 as a starter for the Mountaineers? Two straight games, Arizona, like we said, Cincinnati, like we said, but you go back to last season when Garrett Green went down in the backyard brawl. Markiol stepped in that game and helped West Virginia to win. And then he also won the next game as a starter against Texas Tech. So he is 3-0 there as the starter for West Virginia. Or will it be Garrett Green? Neil Brown said that Green is easing back into practice. He was going to start working on 11 on 11 stuff. Said last week that he did some 7 on 7, but this week he did 11 on 11. And we might hear more about that later tonight at Kegler's when Neil Brown radio show with Tony Caridi. So that's going to be definitely something to follow. And something against Cincinnati that didn't really go the Mountaineers' way and kind of stalled the offense was the run game. You know, I don't know the last time West Virginia was held to under 100 yards on the ground, but that's going to definitely put a kink in their game plan anytime that happens. Jaheim White, he's shown some explosiveness over the last couple of games, and then CJ is always that third down back, that is going to get you into the end zone. So they got Baylor this week. Baylor themselves, they're coming off a bye week. But before that, they have played excellent football, 3 wins in a row. Turn around their season. They are 3-3 in the Big 12 conference, so a little bit below the Mountaineers, but they are a team not to be reckoned with right now. Their rushing attack is premier. I mean, they got, I think, 4 or 5 guys that have over 250 rushing yards, and it starts with their rushing attack. But Sawyer Robertson, their quarterback, the junior, he can also sling it. So we'll see how Baylor's going to try to attack this kind of new, it's not totally a new look West Virginia defense, but it's under the new direction of Jeff Coons. So we will see how that goes. And now, like we said, West Virginia's offense, we don't know who's going to be under center. DraftKings put out a player prop that anytime touchdown score, and Garrett Green was the third most likely for West Virginia to score a touchdown, and Nico Markel was not listed. So that could just be a herring, but still, it's still something that's giving you any insight. Neil Brown declined to comment on the quarterback situation on Monday during his weekly press conference. So yeah, I mean anything could be in play. It could be Markel trotting out there again. If Green, wasn't having a great week of practice on 11 on 11 stuff. Brown said that's one of the things that he would like to see for Green to just look comfortable and look healthy out there on 11 11 during practice. And for Nico, Brown said that his fundamentals were off maybe against Cincinnati. Didn't have the greatest games, but it's just like easy fixable things and it's coachable things. So let's see if Nico can bounce back from that. And now you look at the West Virginia defense last game, Patorma Moba, the nose tackle, the nose guard, he had a outstanding game. 13 tackles, led the Mountaineers. I don't know how come that is for a defensive lineman, let alone a nose tackle to be leading the team, really stopping the run up front and keeping other teams' rushing attacks and offensive lines honest. And Anthony Wilson's been playing great ball. Obviously, we mentioned that pick six, but he's one of the more reliable people there out there in West Virginia's secondary. And Josiah Trotter, just all year as a linebacker, really solid, making a lot of tackles, making a lot of great plays. So that's what West Virginia's defense looks like. They're going to be without Aubrey Burks and Aiden Garnes, and Neil Brown said he's not sure if they will return for a regular season game. So that's always something to monitor with injuries on the offensive side of the ball. He said he's hopeful for Hudson Clement, but Jaden Bray will be out again. And last week he said that if Bray wasn't back against Baylor, that he's more likely to be back against UCF. Trending in the right direction. So it's what we got right now, injuries wise, for the Mountaineers. And this game, huge, obviously, for the Mountaineers. It's a home game, Big 12 game, as they're just still fighting for a chance. Still fighting for a chance. Like I said, a lot of things need to fall into place. You still got teams that look like juggernauts in Iowa State and Kansas State. They both are now two lost teams in the Big 12, and they play each other the last week of the season. So in this league, anything can happen. BYU still at the top, undefeated. They have just totally exceeded expectations this season. So, like I said, it's going to be a test for West Virginia there on Saturday. And now I would like to talk a little bit about hoops, women's and men's. First, let's start with the men's. Last time they played game against UMass, and things didn't go so great there in the second half. It got tight. They were leading, I want to say, by 17 points at half, and they only ended up winning the game by about 6 points. So, but I think Darren DeVries said it perfectly. You got to find a way to win ugly, and that is exactly what they did. They just mustered out that win, and it's a big one for them tomorrow, Friday. They'll be taking on Pitt in the backyard brawl. So the first look for DeVries and many players on the team that at that rivalry. I mean, obviously a huge one. The women's team just defeated Pitt the other day, so just kind of taking a look at that. You look at their starting five, West Virginia, and it's been the same guys that have been making the plays. Javon Small has looked great. I mean, defensively, I think he had what, like four steals the other game against UMass, and then you have Tucker DeVries who can score on many different levels. He's probably been one of the more consistent players. Amani Hansberry, the sophomore, he's looked great. I mean, he's not a true five by any means, but that's what he's playing, and he's getting the rebounds. They out rebounded UMass after there was some concerns about Robert Morris. They got out rebounded. So I think the height issues may continue to reveal themselves, but for the time being, I think they played very well against UMass in that sense. They didn't get totally um crashed on the glass, but Amani Hansberry got it done. Tucker DeVries also had a couple of boards. And Darren DeVries said it best. When there's a lack of height, it's just all about physicality and um fundamentals. Like you can't teach height, but you can teach your players to be physical, box out and just go up and get those rebounds. Offensive rebounds are obviously huge. Give your team a second chance, go up and score some points. Second possession, get some putbacks. But I just want to totally highlight the women's team, number 15 in the country. They moved up in the AP poll, and that was well deserved. West Virginia is back in that sense. Ever since last season, Mark Kellogg has absolutely put such a great defensive scheme for this team. It is absurd. Um, 44 turnovers against Niagara. Niagara came into the game as a number one team in the country in forcing turnovers, and West Virginia dominated that turnover battle. 44, the most they've ever had as a program. I believe it was 49 against McMaster in 1980. So in the Kellogg era, it was previously 32, which they tied in their first game. And for them, I want to see JJ Quinterly get back on track. Yes, she was the Mountaineers' leading scorer against Pittsburgh, but she also shot the ball by far the most. She was 0 for 10 on free throw, not free throw, sorry, 3-point attempts. And West Virginia as a team was not shooting it well beyond the arc by any means. Sydney Shaw kind of picked it up there in the fourth quarter, but um, Jordan Harrison has been extremely consistent, one of the best playmakers that the Mountaineers have. And let me just say, I am extremely, extremely impressed by Jordan Thomas. She saw really like her first like breaking out kind of party against Niagara there in the first half. I think she had 16 points. And so for a freshman big to go out there and score that much and just really look comfortable in the game, I think that is something to keep your eye on and something to watch out for because it's the future of this program. Quinterly is a senior, Harrison's a junior, Kylie Blackston, who's the current starting center, is a fifth-year senior. So just something to keep your eye on because with Mark Kellogg at the helm of this program, I mean, I think that this team can be a national contender every single season under him. I personally think he's a great coach. He put in a great scheme for this team. Like I said, Press Virginia in this sense is back. I mean, they are gritty, they are pesky, and they're gonna get the job done. And so they got SEC opponent Texas A&M on Friday. It is the Coal Rush game, I believe. It's also the I believe at halftime they're throwing teddy bears onto the court for donations. So a lot of excitement around these three programs. Obviously, the DeVries era is starting, and it's now heading to their first rivalry game, their first real test, a game on the road. So just this, that's like it's exactly what I said. It's a test. Let's see how they perform. And it's going to tell you a lot about this squad this season and how they are as a unit and how DeVries coaches on the road for West Virginia Mountaineers football team. You totally need this one. This would be a huge get. And then after that, you get another home game against UCF, and then you travel to take Texas Tech, the last game of the season there in Lubbock. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how that plays out. And with women's basketball, I mean, coming off of the NCAA tournament appearance, they fell to Iowa, but kept them to under their lowest scored points of the entire year. Our Tanner Mounts wrote a story absolutely incredible. Um, if you haven't read it, go give it a read about West Virginia women's basketball as a team. They they have just completely turned things around when Kellogg took over. And like I said, I think they can be national contenders every single season under Kellogg if he's still able to recruit as well as he's been able to, and he's able to game plan as well as he's been able to. So this was a quick one today, but just wanted to kind of talk about some recent things surrounding these programs. And so that's going to do it for me. Thanks for joining me.